guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the San Diego Comic-Con 2014 exclusive, Hordak. That's right, Hordak gets another variation in the Classics line, this time inspired by his appearance in the Filmation Princess of Power cartoon series. Before we get into the figure itself, it's worth pointing out that his mailer box has a brief line honoring the late Lou Scheimer, which I find very nice. Hordak comes on the standard Masters of the Universe Classics blister card, featuring the Evil Horde logo sticker on the front of the blister, as well as a yellow burst letting you know that his small sidekick Imp is included. The back shows off a selection of other figures in the Classics line, and even gives us a new bio for this version of Hordak. Alright, it's time to take a look at this new version of Hordak outside of the packaging. As stated, this version is inspired by his appearance in the Filmation cartoon series. I use the word inspired by because I don't think I really consider this a true Filmation Hordak. This is due to the fact that the figure is mostly just a repaint of a previous Hordak figure. So let's start there. His head sculpt. It's exactly the same as what we've received before, just painted bright white in color with a blue mohawk. He also features the same black cowl seen on the Hurricane Hordak figure, this time with gray trim. While the bright white face with the blue mohawk is the correct color scheme, I think the biggest bummer here for me is the fact that we did not get a brand new head sculpt that was more accurate to the blockier, more robotic look of Hordak from the cartoon series. In addition, I'd have really liked to see a new cowl with the larger bone motif also seen in the cartoon. Essentially, that's my biggest complaint with this guy. I'm pretty happy with the rest of him, as I do feel the rest of the parts reuse makes sense here. What I love the most is that we finally have a Hordak with the dark blue skin. Since I grew up watching the Filmation cartoon series, that was always my preferred look for this character. He's also sporting his usual armor, this time with gray and blue painted details on the sides to match the cartoon, as well as new gray details on the boots. It's also worth noting that unlike the previous Hordak releases, this one is wearing the shorter loincloth. Hordak also comes packaged with a robotic left arm, which is a mixture of parts we've seen on figures like Trapjaw, Flipshot, and Hurricane Hordak. Now this arm is a really nice touch, since it was very common to see Hordak transforming his arm in the animated series. Alright guys, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the San Diego Hordak figure. Now, very standard on this guy as far as the articulation goes. He's very similar to what we've already seen with our previous two Hordak action figures, so you probably already know what to expect here, but let's go ahead and run it down just in case. Head's on that standard ball joint, so you can turn the head left and right and kind of move it up and down. He's got that same cowl that we saw with Hurricane Hordak, so it's the one without the cape attached to it. And of course it's removable, it's a separate piece from the head. So you can just pop that right off the ball joint there if you want to. It slightly hinders the movement of the head, but it's not too bad there. Got the same ball joints at the shoulders, so the arms can go outwards, forwards, backwards. Got the swivels at the bicep. He does have the little Horde armbands, which are separate pieces, and these are included on both of the standard arms, so you can take those off if you want to. He's got your regular elbow bend, as well as your wrist swivel, except on this arm, he's got still the bicep twist there, he's got the elbow bend, but since he's got the cannon on this arm, there's no actual wrist swivel on this part. It's all one solid piece with the forearm there. He's got your standard ab crunch articulation, the waist can swivel left and right. This is the same armor we saw with the regular Hordak, so you can remove it from the back if you want. It's that softer material. He does also have that softer, shorter loincloth there, so it's still flexible, which means you can get him in a good sitting pose there. You can get the legs spread outwards good, so that way you can get him straddling a steed. You can put him in a vehicle, anything like that with no problem. Swivel at the thighs there, standard joints at the knees, you got nice tight boot cut articulation there, and you got your standard ankle joints, which are nice and tight on this guy, so there's no problems balancing him. He stands very well, no weak ankles, which is very nice. Now, the one thing that is unique about this Hordak is the fact that he's got the interchangeable arms. He does come packaged with this normal robotic cannon arm there. Not the normal arm, the robotic cannon arm. The cannon is very similar to what we saw with the Hurricane Hordak. It's just on the opposite arm, but it is worth noting that the joint on the inside is sized differently, so it doesn't actually fit the trap jaw pieces or the Hurricane Hordak pieces or anything like that. Instead, he actually comes with this little attachable robotic hand piece, and it does have a larger ball joint on there, and it's a little bit longer than those. So what you can do if you want to, you can either display him with that cannon, or you can snap in this robotic hand there to display him that way. And of course, that's easy just to pop back out, and it locks in place nice and tight. You can hear it clicking there. Now, you can also remove this arm entirely to attach the normal Hordak arm if you'd rather display him that way. This, of course, is a feature we've seen with some of the previous figures, like Trapjaw, who comes to mind. He had the robotic gun arm that you can take off and put on his normal Cronus arm. This works the same way. Just pops out of the ball joint there. It's a nice tight hold, so it's not too loose or anything like that. And in its place, you can just pop in the new one. You can hear it snap in. It's nice and tight. Articulation is fully functional. And that way we've got a couple different ways we can display our new version of Hordak. The interchangeable arm allows you to display Hordak the way that you prefer. If you just want a regular looking blue Hordak, you can go that route. If you want an arm cannon, which is my favorite method to display him, it's totally doable. You want a robot hand? Check. Now the only thing odd about that robot hand is that since it plugs into the arm cannon, it does then make his left arm slightly longer than his right arm, which does look a little weird. For additional accessories, Hordak also includes the same staff that we got from his original release, this time painted light gray to match his new deco. It can be held in either one of his normal hands, but the robotic hand is just too open to grip onto it. And finally, one of the major selling points of this figure, we get his tiny sidekick Imp. Imp is a really great sculpt, with an awesome colorful paint job to match. He has limited articulation, with his head able to turn side to side, his arms able to move up and down, and he's a tiny little dude, as you can see when standing him next to other sidekick characters like Cowl or Liu Key. But this does make him perfect to sit on Hordak's shoulder. He doesn't really have a good way to attach, you just have to find a proper way to balance him, but it can be done. I do wish he had a hole in his foot so that we can fit him on the flight stand like we got with Cowl, but I assume his sculpt was just a little too small to allow for that. Alright guys, it's comparison time. Here's a look at the new Hordak standing alongside the first Classics release, so you can see the similarities and the differences between the two. And then here he is alongside Hurricane Hordak, again, so you can see how the new figure differs. So there you go, my friends, a look at the upcoming SDCC Hordak. As I stated earlier, Blue Hordak is my preferred version of the character. In fact, I remember when I got the first Classics Hordak, way back when he first came out, I bought an extra one just so that I can paint him blue. So I'm happy to finally have an official release of this guy. I just wish Mattel had gone a little bit further with him. A new cartoon-accurate head sculpt and cowl would have made a world of difference here, and made the figure feel a lot more special than he does. I do really love the color scheme, and the arm cannon and Imp are both really great pack-ins. And this will most likely still assume the role of the main Hordak in my display. I just really wish we had that cartoon-accurate head. Fingers crossed we get it somewhere down the road, but it really should have been included with this figure. Hordak will be sold first exclusive at San Diego Comic-Con 2014, and then limited quantities will be sold afterwards on MattyCollector.com. Until next time,